The WWE has a serious main event problem, and it's not even funny at this point. It's repetitive, it's dull. It's, oh my goodness. We're not going to talk about the storylines in this one. We're going to talk about the main event players in a quick rant. We have a lot of wrestlers who recently retired or have been talking about retirement or are near retirement age. For example, we had AJ Styles retire recently. Goldberg somehow miraculously still wrestling until a handful of months or a year ago. AJ Styles, Goldberg, John Cena, and of course recently the speculation of Brock Lesnar retiring. Now, when it comes to the other wrestlers who are considered main event in WWE's eyes, CM Punk, of course, up there. Randy Orton recently main eventing night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania 42. CM Punk is around 50. Randy Orton is nearing that age. Both are losing that it factor and have for a long time. Only WWE stans will truly say, oh, you still got it, or still find some kind of pleasure in watching them perform. In wrestling matches specifically, for example, promos, you can be 80 and still cut them if you've always been good on the mic. But let's say, for example, those two, right? Then you have the repetition of Roman Reigns consistently having to carry the company and the belt or the belts, world title and WWE title, on his back because there's nobody else that can draw like he can in the WWE. Now, WWE wants you to think Cody Rhodes is near that or on that level as Roman Reigns, but real, critically, logically, emotionally thinking individuals will tell you that is a lie. It's WWE history, and WWE likes to spin things and tell you things and want you to think in a certain way, and of course stans will go along with it. They always have, always will. It's WWE revisionist history, you know what I mean? Long story short, then you have the so subtle, part-time main eventers basically being put in that place when there's nothing else going on or nobody else to be put in that place. Not necessarily part-time main eventers like Roman Reigns in the sense of him coming around and basically just showing up for the major pay-per-views as he did a few this last year or so, if not longer. But I'm talking about the people like Damian Priest, fart in the wind, came on the scene, lost it. Main event Jey Uso. What kind of a nickname is that? Where you have to kind of repetitively program people to see them as main eventers by giving them a generic ring nickname like that. Imagine back in the day if Stone Cold Steve Austin was called the main event Stone Cold Steve Austin. In that era, people would look at you like you're crazy. They would literally tune out faster than ever. But, Gunther, you can say he retired all those, people like, for example, Goldberg, AJ Styles, and John Cena, but he's not a main eventer. Real wrestling fans, sure, he has his pluses, just like anybody and everybody does in some sense, especially when it comes to wrestling superstars. No wrestler would be on the stage of in the WWE if they didn't have some kind of good attributes or qualities as a performer. But Gunther, for the accolades he's accomplished recently by, let's say, retiring those specific wrestlers, he doesn't come across like he did that. It's because of the hot and cold push these wrestlers consistently get. It's like Obafemi, that whole thing basically with Brock Lesnar. The match was what it was, what it was. It wasn't great, two powerhouses. It was short, whatever you can say. I can find good things about it. But when you think about it, nobody's thinking about, Obafemi. They're thinking about Brock's retiring at the end of that match, and then that significance kind of rubbed off on Obafemi. But it's so soon in his supposed push, but people are already bestowing him as the next big thing But when you look at Obafemi, and I was around and I seen Brock Lesnar's rise towards the main event scene and his first world title win back in the early 2000s. And I'll tell you what Obafemi doesn't have that Brock Lesnar did back then and does now. But let's compare it to back then when he was at the same stage. Storyline, true storyline, consistent storyline, a character, and development of that character in a consistent way that integrally combined with the storylines that he was involved with that made him grow as a individual and a performer in general. But he doesn't have charisma. He does not have the charisma at all. It's not there. At the stage they are in their respective careers. Let's say when Brock Lesnar was where he was in the early 2000s and where Obafemi is now. Let's say paralleling him. Okay, what can you say? Obafemi's bigger in size, more swole, like bigger, muscular. Yeah, sure. But you know how many other wrestlers came and went that were as big as Obafemi, if not bigger, or had more chiseled features than that? They went nowhere. So it's like, it's that whole hot and cold thing where they try basically to throw anything at a wall, make it stick, but it doesn't. It's repetitive, like I said earlier. Roman Reigns champion again. CM Punk loses to Roman Reigns. All of a sudden, the next night on Raw, he's trying to set up some feud with Cody Rhodes. And these two, for the last 3-4 interactions they had together, they're talking about how much they love each other, how much they respect each other, how much they appreciate each other. It's like, how can you, I know you have to dissociate in a sense when you watch wrestling, you're suspend your disbelief or whatever it's called. But it's like when the last handful of times these two interacted, they're rubbing each other up emotionally, mentally, almost to the point where, okay, you guys gonna kiss, make out, and now you're trying to get me to be interested at the a prospect of these guys feuding for the WWE championship that Cody has. It's like, get out of here. It is again and again the same individuals in the title scenes over and over again. And to be honest with you, with Roman Reigns, I don't have an issue because he's been pushed down our throats to the point where we acknowledge him. He was main eventing year after year of WrestleMania when the fans were turning against him, only till the point a few years back where, they're like, okay, we don't got anything else, and, they stuck with it, and it was the persistence, and he is the main eventer. He has the accolade of being a champion for 1,000+ days and stuff like that, defeating Undertaker at WrestleMania and so on. But otherwise, other than him, everything else is forced. And they're trying to do that with Cody Rhodes, but it's not working the same with Cody Rhodes, because I believe people disdain for Cody Rhodes is at a more personal level compared to Roman Reigns as it was back when. Because with Cody Rhodes, he comes across phony and fake. With Roman Reigns, people were against it, or him more so, because it felt pushed. There was the machine behind him and so on, in generic ways, similar how it was with John Cena. With Cody Rhodes, there is that animosity, but at the same time, he just comes across so phony and fake, and he doesn't have any it factor. Crybaby Rhodes, that's what I call him. How many times have I seen him cut a promo where he's crying, referencing somebody, basically, corporate kiss-assing promos. I love you, I respect you, I appreciate you, we have memories. It's like, bro, I don't care about your memories, man. I want it to be who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin storylines. Let's figure this out. Oh, what's the intrigue? Hey, oh my God, Stone Cold Steve Austin tied up and kidnapped Scott Hall. What's going to happen throughout the whole episode of SmackDown? You know what I mean? Keep me engaged. I don't care who you love or hate. I want to see, depth to these storylines and so on. But reverting back to the main subject, I did say we're not going into storyline territory, but yeah, there's nobody. Jacob Fatu. He's basically a modern day Bam Bam Bigelow. Basically, I wouldn't even put him on a Vader level. Vader had a bit more of a presence. He's basically a modern day Bam Bam Bigelow. Damian Priest, are you going to try to resuscitate that? No, it's not going to work. Dominic Mysterio, he's a super lightweight, but he's not even trying to work out to look anything close to any main eventer. He doesn't even look like an IC or US champion. Sami Zayn, same thing. If not, he has a little bit more weight to him. Come on, main event Jey Uso. It worked so well. He's back as a lackey for Roman Reigns. I can't even think of any of these so-called upper mid-card champions or caliber superstars, if anywhere, let alone anywhere close to the main event scene. That's why I say WWE has a main event problem. It does not make sense. It doesn't attract a wrestling fan anymore, let alone don't even bother trying to attract the casual fan. Like, I, as a wrestling fan for 30 plus years, do not want to watch these wrestlers. Why would a casual, like, oh, what's going on? It's not going to intrigue these people. You know what I mean? Basically, I'm at who else is there? Randy Orton's going to retire soon, sooner than later. Brock is supposedly out the door. That's another two gone. Rey Mysterio, he hasn't been in the main event scene, but you know how they like to put him in here and there whenever it suits them. Or, oh, you've been with the company for so long. Here's a appreciation main event like they did with Finn Balor versus CM Punk a couple months back. It's literally a joke. It's literally a joke. They do not have anybody, and the people these wrestling fans, the stands more so, are saying is going to be a future world heavyweight champion, WWE champion. Well, let's see what it entails. And if they win a championship, if they win it once, why does it matter? WWE has shown historically that even if you win it once, doesn't matter. Jack Swagger won the World Heavyweight Championship at once. Where is he? Dolph Ziggler won it. Where is he? For example, Dolph Ziggler won the World Heavyweight Championship once for sure, if not twice. And he's still an active wrestler. Why wouldn't you bring him back into the WWE? It shows that he doesn't hold any weight as a superstar. Yeah, it's just a messed up mess, man, to the point where being a wrestling fan in 2026 is super sad, let alone specifically being a WWE stan.